Welcome back to the Grumpy Old Guy Wood Carving Studio. If this is your first time here, my name is Harry. This is Mini-Me. As you can see, I finally got him finished. In this video, we're going to talk about the controller, how I put it together, and then also how I strung him up with the strings. He's in front of a graphite picture of a little wood carving studio that I drew for him. I'm going to transfer it onto a canvas, paint it, see which one looks better, and then whichever one looks better, I'll put it into maybe a shadow box and hang him in a shadow box. So if you're ready, let's get started. I'm using a pattern that I found online. I'm just transferring the measurements onto a piece of wood. I'm using basswood here because that's all I had on hand. I think for the next one, I'll go out and buy some pine or something. Something a little cheaper, and I'll reserve my basswood for carving. Just transferring the pattern that I found online, the measurements onto the piece of wood for cutting. The pattern is in centimeters, millimeters. Some of those measurements I went and changed them to inches, where I thought it was necessary, like the width of the wood there is 1 inch, where it was in centimeters before. It just makes more sense to me. I think the next one, I'll just go ahead and make it all in inches. These don't have to be exact, as long as they're close. All it is going to do is give you a place to attach your strings. There are some things that proportion-wise need to be approximately the same as in the pattern, but you can still convert to inches if you want, or leave it all in millimeters and centimeters. It's up to you. This little bandsaw sure comes in handy. It's only got a 3-inch throat on it, but for the stuff that I do, it's perfect. I just have to spend a lot of time vacuuming up the dust. I can stick my shop vac hose in the back, which I forgot to do. And that'll help clean up some of the mess, but there's still a lot of dust that has to be cleaned up, and it doesn't go too far. And this is one of the cross pieces. It'll fit into that notch there. And this piece will be the upper piece that will be inserted inside a slot in the controller right there, so you can see it. And it's angled. And I should have cut the angles on the other one, but I just spaced it. Here I'm going to bore out some holes in for the notch. And then I'll just clean it up a little bit with a knife to get the worst of it. And a chisel to help smooth that out. And later I'll sand it down a little bit. I'm the only one that's ever going to see this, so I don't really care what it looks like. For the next one that I make, it'll be available as for sale. So I'll take a little more time to make it look pretty. And I could have used screws to hold that centerpiece in, the one that I'm drilling now. I could have used a screw, but I didn't have any that were short enough. It just has to go through the back of the wood in through the centerpiece, and then a little ways into the other wood. Turn the holes in. I'm using an 80 grit to remove the saw marks. Again, it just doesn't have to be pretty. It's just for me. And it doesn't have to have a mirror finish. Now I'm using the 180 grit to kind of smooth it out just a little bit more. If this was going to be a coffee table or something, I'd go way up to 220, 500 grit. Make it a mirror finish, but like I said, I'm going to be handling this a lot. I just want to smooth it out, take away the rough edges. Sanding out that centerpiece. I got some smooth movement in there. And I didn't want to sit and wait all day for the glue to dry, so I added a couple of nails. Here I noticed that I needed 2 holes drilled in the dowel, one on both ends and perpendicular to each other. You can see I'm not real good at nailing anymore. I don't nail very much, so when one gets off, I have to just back it out. I forgot to turn the camera on while I was gluing things. I had turned it off and thought I had turned it on. And you see the results. The dowel was sticking in the hole. It's glued in. The lower cross member is glued and nailed. And then the upper cross member pivots on a dowel, which is glued in. While I was sanding the dowel, I noticed that I hadn't drilled 2 holes in it. They have to be perpendicular to each other. And when you set them in the wood or glue them into the wood, they have to be with the upper hole closest to the wood has to be horizontal, and the hole on the end has to be vertical. And what did I do? Yeah, I glued it in wrong. Before I got the strings on, I noticed that it was wrong, and I went ahead and drilled some more holes in it. Could have used a little bit heavier wire. This is the wire I was using to make my pins and to make joints on the Marionette itself, but this is the only wire I had on hand. I could have made some staples the way I was with that wire, but I decided I got these very tiny little eyelets. I might as well just use those. They're a pain in the rear because they're so tiny. But once you get them started, then you can use the pliers to hold it and push in while you're turning. You're going to need 9 attachment points for the string on his body. 2 on the knees, 2 on the hands, 2 on the shoulders, 1 on the back, and 2 on the head. And you'll see the ones on the shoulders I should have moved out further because they're too close to the head, so I'm going to have to fix that later. I'll just move them out away from where they are. Here I'm just using 8-pound fishing line, monofilament. He's a very light little puppet, and I'm not going to be using him much anyway. But it's sure a pain to try to make those knots. Stuff is so small, and the controller and the Marionette kept moving in different directions. Eventually I got him stringed up, but I'm going to have to redo the knees because I've got too much tension on those, and they're slightly elevated. On the attachment points, it's easier if you have one attachment point for one eyelet, then string it onto tie it onto the controller first, and then tie it onto the eyelet on the Marionette. It's a little easier that way. And if you have a string that, like the hand strings, it's one continuous string that just hangs over the top of the hook. You can tie one to the hand, one hand, string it over the hook, and bring it down to the other hand, and then tie it off. Knees, tying up the knees, that was a special treat because you have that cross piece that moves, so you have to try to make sure that the knees are hanging straight while the cross piece is horizontal. I think I'd use one of those little clamps to hold it in place next time. I'm not sure that it really matters what kind of string you use. Some people use dark, some people use the clear. I'm going to experiment around with different types. Being this was my prototype, I've noted things that I need to improve on the next one. The joints on the Marionette, put a little more time into carving. I mentioned in the painting video that I used oil paints. And one of the reasons I did that was because if you look at the puppet while I'm stringing him up, you can see where the paint's kind of wearing off just from me handling it. And that's the effect I wanted. It gives it a worn look, like it's been handled over many years. But the next one I do, I'm going to probably use acrylics and then spend a little time trying to make it look a little bit worn. Because if I put it up for sale, then I don't want people coming back in a few years and saying, oh, the paint's all rubbed off. Spraying with some kind of sealant, and perhaps in the future I will. He's all wired up now, putting it through his paces. I'm going to have to learn how to control him a little bit better. That wasn't the object of this exercise. It was to actually just build one and see what I have to do to improve for the next one. Thanks again for joining me in the Grumpy Old Guy wood carving studio. And as my little friend says, get off my lawn.